Again, thank you all for having me today. I'm going to go over some material here regarding the recycling facility, and I do plan on to leave some time at the end for any potential questions. So starting out of the gate here, there's been multiple names for the recycling facility. 3 years ago, they did rename it to Northeast Michigan Materials Management Authority. So that is the current name. More than likely, it's not going to change just due to everything going forward with the facility that I'm going to go over here. This is what we're probably going to be sticking with as far as a name. So start off here, the big push from transition to circular economy. So standard, a lot of people are familiar with, they call it linear economy. So essentially, they make products, we use them, we throw them away, and then it goes in the landfill. So the big push with the recycling facility is we're trying to change everybody's mindset on that, right? So what does that look like? So from the moment that anything is designed, whether it be a pop bottle or a toy, we are trying to push, and there's a lot of information behind this, to have businesses and manufacturers be responsible with what will the end of that life look like for that material. So that is the design stage. So what happens from there? Then they make the product, then it hits the stores, which everybody sees it from there. Whether it be a grocery store, Amazon, even Goodwill. So the store hits, and then we buy it, hits our house. From there, we want to push either to reuse or to repair it. If it's not reusable or repairable, and if it is recyclable, then the next stage would be collection, whether that look like bringing it to a drop site, bringing it to us directly, or potentially in the future, us coming to your door and picking it up just like the garbage trucks do. And then from there, we take it, we make enough of it to be able to send out a truckload of it, and then we send it to a company or a manufacturer that essentially will break all that material down and create it into something new again. So that is our huge push on the circular economy versus the linear, to have longer life in material that can, versus just essentially buying, using, and then throwing away. This might be hard to see. This is just a quick breakdown on, this is from last year. So this breaks down on a chart here what is recycled and what ends up in the landfill that is recyclable. Now, keep in mind, this is not just Michigan. This is actually the Midwest. So very, very large scale here. But as you can see here, so the biggest component is mixed paper, which I gotta drag this over here. So yeah, so they're almost 15 tons of paper, 15,000 tons of paper in total that could be recyclable in the Midwest, and not even half of it is hitting a recycling facility. And that is purely just going right to the landfill. And the reason that a lot of this actually, as far as the numbers go, is not due to people recycling, but almost not having the education out there on where to or how to. There are a lot of programs within the Midwest for recycling. There is a lot of, especially in the northern Michigan part, there is a lot of what we would call opportunity to further recycle. But moving on here, so then the right behind mixed paper is going to be cardboard. Cardboard is by far the easiest material to recycle. It has endless lives. If I remember right, cardboard can be actually returned and reused almost 25 times before it's unusable, breaks down. But as far as, you buy something from the store or you get something from Amazon, if that box hits our facility within 20, 30 days, that extends the life of it tremendously. Essentially, once any type of water or condensation or humidity hits that and really gets it, when you pick up a box and it's super soft, that is, it's still recyclable at that point, but the life of it is severely reduced. So moving on here, the next biggest piece is glass. As most of you know and probably seen out there, we got a huge partnership with Wholesome, and that is a very local opportunity. There is actually nowhere else in the state that brings glass to a cement plant itself. A lot of that will actually get broken down and actually used in road material. That's what the UP majorly does with their glass, is they actually break it down and actually has their road commission include it in their salt spreader. It gets really, really fine, so it would never pop a tire or anything. But again, that is a huge component as far as being recycled, and that is by far, hence the other categories below here, that is by far the biggest opportunity and possibly a misconception on, can it be recycled, can it not? So anyway, that is a huge program that we just launched recently here in Alpena. I believe we're on month 3 of accepting glass. We had a slow get out with trying to figure out where it was going to go. But about a month ago, we have 2 locations, the township, Charter Township, and then the Moose Lodge is our 2 current locations for the glass. So I highly encourage you guys to start thinking about especially the glass piece on that it can be reused. And that actually has an endless amount of time it can be broken down and brought into a new material. There is no life expectancy on any type of glass container. Yes. MRF, we're so yeah, so on the very bottom of we call it MRF. So that is actually the material, that is actually the recycling facility itself. So what that includes is when they say lost, and you'll see bigger bars in the mixed paper and the cardboard category of that. So that is any type of material that comes to us and actually it's in such bad shape that we cannot bring it to an end market to get recycled. Yep. So essentially, at that point, you could say it's material that we actually have to end up throwing away, unfortunately. But sometimes with how things get recycled, or if people recycle incorrectly and contaminate a huge amount of, in one of our drop-off containers, if the contamination or it's too wet or somebody throws a gallon of paint in the container, that entire amount of material that we just have to immediately throw away. So just breaking down the left side here. So we're just trying to keep materials local. Like I said, everything that is brought in from us gets 100% recycled unless, like I said, unless the contamination is too high. Like I said, I already touched on the transportation there from Wholesome. And then at the end of the day here, this whole presentation is we're just trying to extend the lifespan of our landfills. They're not endless. They only have a certain amount of space. So that is a huge critical point on trying to extend that life. This side here, there's a lot on here. I'm not going to go into this too in depth. This is essentially the part 115 that we brought to Alpena County to help us form moving forward here with a new facility. So below there, it's Alpena, Alcona, Montmorency, Oscoda, and Iosco is currently our areas that we cover. The Iosco piece is actually fairly new. We actually just took on the Oscoda, Tawas, and Whittemore area as well and taken in material. We're in the midst of trying to figure out Presqu'île and possibly further into Gaylord area. But again, that's the whole point on why we're growing and we need a bigger facility, is because we are pretty much at our peak on what material we can take in just with the space. Below that, they're focusing on managing materials and sites. So we're always trying to expand our drop sites. And then it is within our 5-year goal to offer a curbside service. Essentially, we just have to get to our new building, get that rolling, and then we can look into curbside. Right now, we could never even handle it. So we're just trying to get, one step at a time there with services that we can offer. Below there just provides funding. Again, this is what we pitched to the county to provide us help with the facility itself. And then below that, we do have a goal of 45% recycling rate that's going to be mandatory from the state of Michigan by 2030. So again, I know I keep repeating myself on this, but we would never be able to hit that with our current facility. Everything would just be out our doors and essentially just sitting on the ground out there if we didn't get a new facility within the next year or two. And then prioritizing local control. Again, that's kind of once we get to our new facility, get things soft, get things rolling there, then we can provide a lot more local control on offering more services and getting more material from our local areas. And last bullet point there is just preserves the ability to flow control. Again, we would love to, broaden our horizons more than what we are, but we have to make sure that we're controlling our flow and what we can handle out there. This is another slide with a lot of information on it. This breaks down a lot of our previous history. I'll kind of touch on a little bit of these. Essentially, they formed since 2006, so there's been some type of existing recycling program. Again, we're operating out of our old garbage transfer station, so it's not set up for efficiently doing recycling. So essentially, it's just taking a lot more labor hours to do the tasks that need to be done versus if it were set up for a recycling center, the efficiency would be through the roof on that. NEMA, that's what we call the Northeast Michigan Materials Management Authority. You might hear me reference that. It's just a short term or it's a short way to explain who we are. So NEMA was established to support the recycling program. Essentially, what happened was we branched off as our own entity. The county did not want to take on the full responsibility. So we said, okay, so we'll establish our own entity and then they'll be right behind us on supporting us. So that's kind of why, some areas in the state, it might be, this might just be called Alpena County Recycling, where a lot of programs might be literally tied into the county as they back us, but we are our own entity itself. That's why the next bullet point there says we are a county program, but we're operating as our own entity. Below there, again, it's just kind of brainstorming, and that's what all those townships essentially represent NEMA. So we have a monthly board meeting that we have a representative from every single one of those areas come. I provide a monthly update. Those are also open to the public. They're held on the third Thursday of every month. So if anybody is ever interested on a true month-to-month update and really get in detail on what's going on, more than willing to join those. Those are also, there's a Zoom link on those as well. So if anybody would like any more information on that itself, you can ask me after, or there's a bunch of information about that. Below that, there is pretty much an Act 138 where the household fee was increased. So essentially, they were looking at overhead at our current facility and trying to make it run. So that's where they increased it from $20 to $25 per household in the county. So that right there is how we day-to-day operate. That is what we operate off of. Our only other income is the material that we sell out of the facility itself. But again, with how inefficient and with how we're set up out there, we just can't move a ton of material right now. So we heavily rely on the $25 per household. And below there is we did get the board to approve a quarterly allocation. Essentially, the landfill in Atlanta that all the garbage from Alpena County is brought to, they actually were going to give us 50 cents per delivered cubic yard as kind of like a stipend to help us out. But they did put a cap on that of $75,000. But again, that's just another way to help us run our day-to-day operation to keep us afloat. This is just the progression of what they've done in the past, I'd say good year. So essentially they hired me as the executive director in November of 24. Previous to me, the city manager and the mayor were kind of just making sure things were running good. And they got to a point where we got to hire somebody to be able to manage and run everything going on. So that's when they hired me. From there, just implementing improvements across the board, trying to improve efficiency within the building. I've had a ton of discussion from different recycling facilities across the state. I've been to a handful of recycling facilities themselves just to see, you know, how do you guys run? What can we do? And just see like what we're could possibly be looking at down the road once we do get it to our new facility. So developing the MRF there, like I said, MRF is just short for material recovery facility, which is pretty much the recycling facility itself. So we've fully designed and engineered a plan for the facility. We'll go over that here on the next couple slides. We've had a bunch of surveys and FAA clearance and a bunch of permits we had to pretty much get to even be able to approve the land itself. And we did have to do a land lease with the county on the land itself. And then the bottom there is just feedstock. That's just breaking down again the areas that we get materials in from. And then the same act that goes over the possible curbside collection down the road. Yes.
I live in the city of Alpena.
Yep.
And I have garbage collection and pay for it.
Yep.
I'm interested to know more specifically what you mean curbside collection for recyclable.
Yep.
How would you handle that? Would you have another kind of container that we would buy, set out at the same time as the regular garbage?
Yep. So it would be completely different than your normal garbage pickup. So essentially it'd be two containers. So one container would be for all your cardboard, and then the next container would be for paper, plastic, and metal.
Two edition.
Correct. Yep.
And buy those,
Correct. Yep.
anticipate the cost.
We have no idea at this time. We haven't dived into.
How large are my current collection container is quite large.
Yep.
Would they be that size or would they be smaller?
Yep. So the cardboard container would be the same size as your garbage one. I believe the standard garbage size container is a 96 gallon. And then your other container would be, we're thinking roughly between 20 or 30 gallons a container. But as far as pickup, it'd be roughly the same size truck that your garbage pickup is. Essentially, instead of picking up garbage, we'd be picking up recycling. The main difference is like we would be the ones picking up.
Would it be done on the same day?
Correct. Yep. The truck would have two separate, you could say the back end of the truck would be split and down the middle essentially, and the mechanism that picks up would know what area that gets dumped into. So yeah, it's a very efficient way to handle recycling, but it's just very, very, very costly. The trucks alone are roughly $500,000 a piece.
We would pay for the collection container.
Mm-hmm.
Would we also pay an additional charge per month?
We're not sure yet. We have to look at what that all costs. We're not sure. We don't know what that looks like. We're not sure.
In New York, we had where you had like little, barrels.
Yep.
You just said plastic and metal, and then what we had was we had glass and stuff and all that.
Yep.
Now, my concern is that, okay, if we're delivering it and we got to drive 23 miles
Mm-hmm.
to go to your station and then come back, I'm 46 miles of fuel.
Yep.
And that's not where you're lazy. That's just saying that becomes an exorbitant amount. And then if your cardboard is out in the rain,
Yep.
it's garbage.
If it's super
basically,
wet.
It's, we're sitting there, I gotta pick up and stuff and all that. And
Yeah.
I have a dump trailer and then,
Yeah.
boy, I could throw it all in there, but then it just can't be, there you go.
Right.
It's gonna be, okay, lift it up in one of those big containers,
Yep.
open the door and all that.
Yep.
And stuff. I just find it that people aren't lazy, but it just becomes more of a, it becomes such a hassle
Mm-hmm.
that you go out to the front of your yard, which you're already paying for.
Yep.
And that's where it goes. And that's the difficulty for you guys.
Yeah.
It really is. And
Yeah.
it'll work.
Yeah. It's
That's really the truth.
yeah, you gotta want to do it to, bring it to the bin. And we understand that, but at this time, for us, A, to even handle it, or B, to figure out how to pick it up right now, we just don't have that in the cards.
Don't make me do it.
Many people in the city do not have a container because they buy a plastic bag and they fill the plastic bag, maybe put it out every 3 weeks or so.
Mhm.
Are you going to force everyone to have a container?
Yeah, for us to pick it up, it would have to be in a container.
Would it be forced,
Yeah, there'd be no other way for us to be able to pick it up. So it would have to be in a container. To vote, probably not, no. Just like I said, just because how costly the whole thing is. Yes. Yeah, you can still bring it to us directly or use one of the drop bins. Yep, those will never go away. It's just a matter of down the road, us being able to offer essentially what the garbage company does is put it on your curb. This is the day that we're coming by. Yeah, yep. Oh, we're well aware. It's just a matter of we gotta do our little steps to build before we can get there.
Legal to, would it be mandatory to recycle them?
It would
The recyclables could be in your garage, you couldn't throw them away.
no, I mean like we can't force it, no. Yeah, no, we wouldn't be able to force anything. It's totally on the onus of the homeowner if they want to, again, participate in, for the recycling part, or if you just want to throw it in your garbage can and then for it to go to the landfill.
We've got like 4 different little bins at home. That we
Mhm.
put stuff in, but a lot of people just don't want to do that.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm not saying it's easy. It's definitely an effort. Like I said, our biggest piece to all of it is it's a lot easier to put it in your garbage bin and have them pick it up. But what's going to end up happening is when they keep raising garbage rates, that's going to be why is because they're running out of room in the landfill. So they're going to keep raising rates out there because they got to be able to make room. And then again, who hits that? All the customers absorb all that cost.
Is there a recycling place in Alpena?
Yep. It's right off of 32, right before the Deer Check station on the left-hand side.
Oh, okay, I know where.
Yep.
that is then.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that's our current location. Like I said, I always encourage anybody that calls and says, man, I have a dump trailer full of cardboard from an event or whatever. I said, bring it directly to us. I don't, if you don't want to sit at the container and, break it down enough to be able to fit in the slot and all that, you're more than welcome to come out there, drop it off, and any amount. I mean, I have a couple of businesses that'll come out there about every other day and do a dump trailer full of cardboard.
There's no cost if you bring your own container to go there.
No, you didn't have to bring in a container.
Just, yeah, but I mean, that's gonna be the easiest thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
If I'm thinking glass and plastic.
Yeah.
It's the biggest thing. Cardboard is tough.
Yeah. The glass and the plastic, you could even just put them in like a garbage bag and then have them drop it off there. I would encourage the glass to be separated just due to because we're bringing it to Lafarge, they have very, very high standards on how the glass can be. So if it's at all dirty, like we cannot bring it to them. So yeah, it's very specific. They essentially don't have a way to sort it and clean it to make sure there's no garbage in there. So the onus is all on anybody using those glass bins to make sure it's to their standard.
all kinds of glass except that after you clean them, you throw the tops away, and any kind of container that's glass would be acceptable.
Yeah, so right now we can bring them any type of beverage jar, container, so anything that food or beverage or anything that comes in, that's acceptable. Or even like you could bring like, the container of like a candle, but that would have to be all out of it. That's the only.
Pickle
Yep.
glass is acceptable.
Yep. We just can't right now take like any type of Pyrex or windows. Yeah, we could take the wine bottle as long as the top would be off. Yep, and like the bottom, no metal. Yep. Or a cork. Yep, all colors, they can be mixed. That doesn't matter. But the big, heaven forbid, like, no lights. That's that hazardous material that essentially if somebody were to throw a light in there, we'd have to landfill that entire bin. Because that would be immediately refused at Wholesome.
Other places that have gone from having to take your own to curbside, how much recycling increase?
Yeah, so that's the biggest piece is why like we really can't even start the process of the curbside is because, I mean, roughly once a county launches a curbside program, the participation rate the first year is usually about 35 to 40%. And then within 1 to 4 years, it's usually upwards near 60. So the amount of material that we would be expecting to get from the curbside program, we just have to be ready for that, all that to come in. So it's very high, just due to the biggest piece that we always hear is, we gotta have it separated. We gotta bring it to the bin or we gotta bring it to you. And we understand that we have to grow ourselves first before we, yes, 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 yes. So our plan is even once we get to our new place, the amount of education that's going to go out is going to be, I'm going to say overwhelming for everybody, because we're going to have mailers that go out to every single address on a monthly basis on education material on it. So it'll be, people probably think it's a little annoying to be honest, but it's more than needed with, yes.
I had somebody tell me that those bins go to their landfill. I said,
No, I promise.
they had no answer.
Yeah.
But they heard so.
Yeah, yeah. The probably the biggest misconception is, we do get garbage in our containers that we do have to bring to the landfill. Yeah, but the recycling itself is, it's all, I would welcome anybody to come out and I'll be more than happy to show you what what we put them in and where they go to.
Getting that.
Yeah,
Somebody's telling them, no, it's just all going.
yeah, that
So
is
I'm washing out all these plastic.
right. Yeah. Nope.
Yeah, that-
Um,
it's not education. We had bids for garbage and our bid for recycling is higher than our bids for garbage. So
yeah.
it's cheaper to throw it away.
Yes, yep, and that's the biggest piece too is just the recycling as a whole, it's not cheap. Obviously, like I said, it's a lot cheaper to go with the garbage, but the labor that's involved in making sure the material that's sorted correctly and produced into what they call bales to send to these places that make it into new product, it just has to be very, very clean and correctly, right from the get-go, correctly absorbed. So moving on here. So this is a brief showing of what the facility itself will look like. So I'm not sure if everybody knows, but the facility will be on Airport Road. If you're familiar with the road itself, on the left-hand side, there's an MDOT parking lot. Will be the lot right after that. So we have, I believe it's like 4 or 5 acres that we have out there. And that's all in the works. We're just waiting on some approval. So breaking it down here, this is what the facility itself would look like. So can you guys see that? You can. Okay. So essentially when a truck picks up those drop bins that you put the material into, they would back into here, dump it, and then there'd be a machine here, a skid steer or a wheel loader that would push whatever material was being dumped at that time into the correct area. From there, a machine would load this area here. A conveyor would put it up into this circular conveyor here. There would be people in the middle of that sorting the material from garbage. Kind of hard to see, but there's little, what they would call bays here that they would be throwing the good material in to as far as the sorting process. And then once there's enough material in those bays, it's below this. It's not, but they would essentially drop a lever and there'd be a conveyor that would put it right into this black conveyor here, which would lead directly into the baler. It'd be baled. There'd be a gentleman down here with a forklift and to put it in the correct bale storage for what it is. And kind of to your point as far as the plastics go, so that is a whole nother realm of being able to sort that. On the bottom of any plastic container, there's going to be a number on there. So the numbers is going to be 1 through 7. Essentially, they have to sort every single number separately for bales. So it's a very taxing process. As again, the guys out there are incredible, but you get to know what the type of container looks like for what numbers on it. Like for example, a standard water bottle is 95% of the time going to be a number 1 on the bottom. So again, they have to sort all that in itself. So the plastic and metal area is for sure the most taxing because they got to be able to sort all those different numbers separately. Yes, anything that's plastic related is we highly encourage with caps, with lids. As far as
because I dump there quite often, but I'm wondering, but I didn't know for recycling if they had recycled containers at that site that they got.
you mean like the transfer station on
Yes.
US? No,
They don't.
no,
Okay, so
no.
it has to be by the DNR.
Correct. Yep. They everything they do out there is direct landfill. Everything out on 32 is that would everything for recycling would have to go out there. And then on the right hand side here, there'd be an exterior glass bunker. So kind of to your point earlier, as far as being able to mix the glass in any of those slots there, that is going to not be acceptable. So the glass, what we call it's source separated. So it has to be glass itself. Nothing else can be in that container, just due to where it's going. Folsom is has very high standards on it. So that is for as long as I can see us operating, glass will be completely separate as far as collection. No, those can all stay on. Just no lids on top of it. Yep. 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 Anything across the board with us. Cardboard, paper, plastic. If you get mail, and even like to your point, if you get a piece of mail in, and it has that film like kind of towards the middle that shows where it's going to or whatnot, that can stay on there. That you don't have to take every little piece of plastic or a label off anything. All those can stay on. Like I said, even on the glass. Yeah. There's a lot of misconception out there on what what can be accepted, what can't, what needs to be removed, what doesn't. Yeah, so the website we're working on, there wasn't really any material on there previous to me. That is on my bucket list. Is actually we're going to create a whole new website around a lot of information and educational material. So more to come on that, but yes, there will be a lot of information.
If you get an envelope and it's a solicitation,
Mhm.
you have to open it or?
No, you can throw it directly in there. Yep. As long as you know that there's no like plastic card in the middle of there saying, like use this gift card or you got a debit card and it's all just scam or whatnot. So I would just make sure that there's no hard material inside of it. Yeah. No. Nope. All the tape can stay on there. Yep. Staples can stay in there as well. Entirely? Yeah, so we're looking at roughly, out of the gate, it'll probably be around 12 total employees. That could vary depending on if our areas that we are taking material from grow. Like I said, for example, it should be either next month or August when we start taking material from the Tawas, Oscoda, Whittemore area. We're actually going to be hauling that as well. So we have to purchase another truck, which will, obviously hire another driver. So there's some variables in that, but roughly 10 to 12 employees total. Right now we're at about 8 out there currently. But mainly the big difference between the current facility and this facility is the current facility, all 8 employees are sorting material from the ground. Everything that comes in gets dumped on the ground and they sort it from the ground. Where the new facility, everything will be about chest level and there will be multiple positions, this is saying right around 6 people in the middle there sorting. There will be a bale operator. There'll be a guy, who does pushing the material off to the side. So there'll be multiple positions rather than everybody just picking everything off of the cement floor into a bin to sort. Going on here, so this is just a projection that we have our consulting firm put together for us based on a whole bunch of numbers in different areas relative to our size. So currently we do about 1,000 tons a year of material going out of our facility. This is not material coming in. So, we could have 3,000 tons of material coming in, but with how essentially, like I said, with everything, with how inefficient our building is set up, this is about max of what we can send out in a year. Below that breaks down roughly where that volume is coming from. So the Alpena area is about 27%. Any new material that's essentially more like a business, that's 38%, and then all the other counties right now are bringing in about 35%. So it's a pretty good mix in between everything. Again, I think the opportunities are for sure endless out there. I mean, personally, I think we could, have a couple more sites within the city. We could have a couple more sites within our area out here. But again, everything's around a very, very tight budget that we're trying to operate off of. But again, looking forward, talking about future impact within our new facility, we're roughly estimated within 6 years to jump all the way to about 4,300 tons that we'd be able to push out of our building. Again, this is a projection. I think this is actually a little light. I think we'll be able to produce a lot more material coming out of our building with the efficiency being absolutely, it's going to be incredible on how more efficient we're going to be able to be versus picking material off the ground. Yes. Yep. So everything that we anybody puts into those bins, we make bales of it, and then once we have enough to sell, we're able to sell that material to. At the new facility, yes. And then at our current facility, 90% of the material sits outside. So how do I break this down? Essentially, the rate that we are able to sell material at right now is low, just due to it sits outside. So the value of it just decreases severely. Like I said, plastic deteriorates in the sun, cardboard. I'm very familiar, yes.
Yeah, that's the model you're looking.
Correct. Yep. A lot of our numbers and projections and strategics and everything is actually based off of Emmett County. Going, oh yes, yep. Yeah, they have a very, very successful program over there. A long time, yes, yep. The biggest, yes. Yeah, yep. At our new place, we'll have the capability to do that. At our current place, essentially, once we have just enough storage, once we get about a truck full, we have to ship it out, otherwise we're just putting it outside and then we're even more in the hole.
When are you going to get?
Yep, so the new facility, we're actually just waiting on USDA right now to be able to approve us to go to bid for site and building construction. So we're hoping by mid-July, August timeframe to be able to break ground. And then we're looking at roughly probably all of August-ish, the late fall of next year to be operational. So it's came a long way. And actually this slide here breaks down roughly our cost on everything. Again, this could change a little bit. We haven't, once we are able to put out bids, that'll kind of give us more of a accurate number on what everything comes in at. A lot of these numbers were based off of about a year and a half ago. So we do expect it to come in a little higher than what a lot of these projections came at. So that, again, that's just a breakdown of what roughly everything's looking at. So we're roughly looking at, about $5.2 million for everything. Again, we're kind of thinking it's going to come in higher than that just because it's been almost a little over a year now since we've gotten these projections. So we did build that escalator to help us with that ceiling. So if it does come in at, say, 5.5, we're not like, what do we do? Yes. Is there? Yes. Yep. There's not. No. Yes. So at a new place, it will be heated. Yes. Yeah. So it's almost like it's going to be a really, really large, unit that almost like a garage can be in. So it's just essentially just a unit that'll hang off the top of the interior there, and it'll be able to be fully heated. It's not going to have full ductwork or anything like that. But the unit is spec'd to be able to keep the building at least at, I think it's spec'd at 38 to 40 degrees in the winter. So again, it's not warm, but it's better than right now it's all outside. So when it's, -10 and blowing, those guys are still out there on the ground picking off material. So it's quite brutal. Next slide here just breaks down how everything's funded. So as you can see here, a ton of grants that are helping us, be able to make this happen. There is one local company there, Besser Foundation, who gave us $50,000 towards the facility. But as you can see, the biggest part there is the federal USDA grant that's going to be providing a lump sum to us for the facility. And the biggest piece of that is mainly due to that 2030 goal of that 45% recycling rate. Counties are going to get hit hard out of the gate there if they're not hitting those numbers. So we're being provided a lot of support to get Northern Michigan set up to be able to hit that. And then on the bottom there, we will have to issue some bonds to sell to close the rest of the 1.2 gap there. This is a rough timeline. This is a little skewed just because things have gotten delayed a little bit with USDA. So we're roughly at this stage here. I know that says March to April 25. Like I said, we're really hoping that we get the release from USDA on the bid proposals to be able to go to bid. Again, I'd be shocked if it was August and we haven't heard anything. So we're hoping within the next roughly 30 days here to get approval, and then that'll really get things rolling with that. And as I stated earlier, again, this is a little skewed. This says July 26 for operational. That more is probably looking like August, September of 26. But again, that's all variable because we could get, these quotes come back and with, we don't know what lead times are going to look like for equipment and whatnot. So we're hoping. That's all we can say right at this point. Again, this is a quick slide on the benefits to the region. So again, we're just trying to decrease costs for waste disposal to residents and businesses. The biggest piece of that is I've been putting a huge amount of pressure on local businesses that produce a ton of cardboard and plastic that is just filling up their garbage container right now. And I mean, I know for residents, we pay per month. All the businesses pay per bin. So, I mean, for example, we had our garbage container out at our own facility that GFL was picking up, and it was quite expensive. So we actually outsourced our own garbage container, and we just take it to the landfill ourselves to save cost. So it's not cheap. So we're trying to reduce that, by providing a service. And then below there, the county requirement for the recycling materials management, like I said, there was a lot of pressure on that 2030 time frame there. So between all these different townships and with the county, we got a lot of backing with us. Below there hits kind of what you already asked about as far as jobs. This is expecting to create 5 more full-time jobs. Again, it could be 5, it could be 8. We just got to kind of see what that looks like. And like I said before, the trucking piece of it, I think is going to really increase just because we're doing all our own trucking. And then below there is just broadening our area. Like I said, we're in about a 5 or 6 county area right now. Within probably 2 years, that's probably going to look like 8. But again, time will tell. And then again, just increasing lifespan on those landfills as they're not endless. I do have to say, I mean, I was down in Grand Rapids for a conference about a month ago, and their landfill down there only has 2 years left without a future plan on where it's going to go. And without the recycling program down there, that landfill itself would have been full 15 years ago. So it just proves that we're trying to stretch out the life of the landfills. We understand that not everything can be recycled, but to help out what doesn't need to be in there, and it can go somewhere else. Again, and that's just a breakdown of myself, the chair, which is the mayor, and the treasurer for the authority, which is the city manager, Rachel Smolinski. Again, feel free to reach out to me or any of them with any questions. I'd be more than happy to give anybody my card, my contact information, if you have any other questions or anything ever arises. Yes.
Regional manufacturer there, I know March for glass. Got anybody else that's taking any of this stuff?
As far as glass, yeah. So glass, unfortunately, has a very hard, what we would call end life. So to answer your question, the only other place in the state of Michigan that takes it is a company out of Detroit. But the kicker to that is nobody will buy glass from a recycling facility. It's just one of them commodities that doesn't have, you could say, a price in it. There's no real revenue from it. It's a very, very hard material to recycle and to find somewhere to go with it from there.
The other materials. Manufacturing.
Yeah, everything other than glass, there are endless places to bring it to. I try to stay local as much as possible. When I say local, I say the state of Michigan. A lot of the paper goes down to Grand Rapids. They have a processing plant down there that turns it into tissue paper. Cardboard's the biggest place. I mean, there's a mill in the UP. There's 2 mills downstate. There's a mill in Wisconsin. There's a mill in Ohio. So there's a lot of different places that can take the material. Same with plastic. Plastic that can go to downstate as well. There's a company in Kalamazoo that will take it. There's a company over on the east side by by Detroit that'll take it. It's just a matter of who needs it at the time that you have a load ready. And like I said, kind of like to your point earlier, kind of like the stock market, all this material fluctuates in price. So every month, there's a new price on that material based on a plethora of items that go into that. So if you can hit it right where you have a load ready and it's really, really high in demand, that's great. But there's other times that it just got to get rid of it. Like I said, cardboard's the biggest one that everybody has so much of it. So, the market for that is usually, there's a lot coming in. But like clean paper, like any type of paper is a high market because it's really hard to get a lot of paper in to make sure it's clean. For your point over at Emmett, they don't do any of their own hauling. They actually have the local garbage company take all their material and then bring it to them. So it's just a different way, to look at it. We're trying to go the way of picking it up ourselves because it's a lot cleaner. But we'll see what happens in the future.
Annual drop off day that you had, that was
Mhm.
so well run.
Oh, good. Yes. Yep. Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah. We tried to really dive into that this year and figure out the best logistical way to have people come in and, there's things to learn every year, obviously, from it, but, it's a really good event. We get a lot of, a lot of material and a lot of people that come in. We wish we could provide it, a summer and a fall or a spring and a fall. But the event is very, very costly as far as, all the vendors that come in and everything. So it's something that we're trying to possibly include more of, but this year was a really, really good turnout. Any other? Yes.
Sure, eventually thinking styrofoam.
So once we get to, I feel like I say this 1,000 times. Once we get to our new facility, we're going to be looking into other material that we can take and possibly recycle. Again, with that, that's just another material that has to be somehow sorted and then somehow baled. Long story short, the biggest problem with styrofoam is it doesn't have a lot of weight. And that's what a lot of these trucking companies want to be. They want to haul the most they can as far as weight. So we'd have to figure out, what that looks like as far as how we collect it and how we be able to ship it somewhere to be able to be reused. So it's a thought I've had. Same thing with shrink wrap. Obviously come spring, there's a ton of shrink wrap from boats. So that's another piece that I've been looking into as far as what can we do with it or provide. But it's a very tough material to collect and to figure out where to bring it. So yeah. Yep.
Those, and it was frozen, are they still coated with something that's not?
Yep. So we can take the beer box, the pop containers, the pizza boxes. So the biggest piece to that is, so for an example, I'm trying to think of I know one of the places in town. If they put the pizza directly in the box itself, and like it's kind of a judgment call. If there's a ton of grease within it, like if you can touch it and it's super soft, we can't do anything with it. But I know a couple pizza places in town will actually put almost like a white like cardboard piece underneath the pizza, before the actual box. That's great because then that whole pizza box can be reused. Again, if there's a couple grease spillages in there, and that's fine. It's just like the really, really major where once the cardboard itself starts essentially deteriorating, is where we can't really do anything with it. I would suggest, just because we sort everything, I would suggest unless it's like, you can put your hand through it soft, I would throw it in the bin. Just so, honestly, at this point, a lot of the guys too, they'll rip the top off and then throw away the bottom. So we try to preserve anything that we can. Yep, all that we can take. No, the only thing that like we can't do anything with is like what fruit comes in. It's like that waxy coating on the plastic or the container from the fruit. Like those containers we can't do anything with. I'm sorry, the cardboard container that like it's almost like has a wax lining on it. Ice cream, no, because the material that's in it pretty much. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I know you can wash it out, but yeah, that has like that waxy liner inside. Yep. 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 Or if like, yeah, I know like some containers out there that have like the disposable box water or whatnot. We can take anything like that. Yep. Yeah, so that all of our signage on all the bins are severely outdated. I mean, even on there it says no pizza boxes. Yeah, it's very frustrating. But we're trying to get all new signage for all the bins. Again, it's just we're trying to get a grant funded for that just because it's a huge cost to get those really, really nice durable stickers on all those bins, and they're a pretty good size. So yeah.
So where do you take some ones that-
Yep. Yeah, so our two public drop sites are the Charter Township building off 23 North. Yep. Yep. And then the Moose Lodge has a bin also.
Yeah. I guess they do.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Charter Township does, anyway, I haven't been.
Yep.
They didn't at first.
Yeah, I think it's been, yes, you can't miss it. And the signage on that, if you do see a glass bin, the signage on that is what the new signage will look like. I mean, it's very nice, it's very clear. So that is kind of our template for the new signage, but it's just a matter of getting that amount of the new signage is very, very costly. And then you can also, with any of the material, you can bring it to us directly at our facility anytime we're open. And then same thing too, we have household hazardous waste collection out there whenever we're open. And like I said, I have copies of our brochure as well, that all the materials that we accept and our hours on there as well. Yes.
At a resort recently in Tennessee, and they had a big sign that said, put your recycled items in the garbage and it would all be sorted. Was I right to be skeptical, or is there a technology?
Yeah, so some recycling centers act as a garbage collection as well. So what those are referred to is they're referred to as like they call single sort. So what happens there is the garbage truck will come, they'll have everything in that garbage truck, but then when they bring it to their facility, instead of just like bringing it to the landfill, they actually have a sorting machine that'll actually it's incredible. It'll actually go through all the material and it'll sort the stuff that can be recycled. It's another way that places can do recycling, but essentially it's a huge cost. The garbage company would have to invest in essentially a sorting system that would be able to handle that. So no, that is valid. It's just another way to do it. It's again it's super efficient, but their resale on that is probably a lot lower because of how dirty it is, since it is being mixed with garbage. They would be able to sell that for a lot less, but it is another way. Yes. Mhm.
volume of that, or collecting and separating, frankly, that stuff seems like that would be recyclable. I used to do stuff myself.
Yeah, no, I'd say the volume is there. But the processing on our end to be able to bale that material and to be able to bring it somewhere that can do something with it is the more of the issue. Yeah, yeah,
We didn't use that for 100% feet.
right,
But I'm sure they will, right?
right. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely another thing to look at. It's just a matter of, like I said, how to collect that and then what that looks like at the end market stance. You know, it might take, I'm just throwing a number out there. It might take 8 months for us to be able to like send a truck out. I don't know what that looks like. Like for example, like metal right now, like all your aluminum cans and all that. Like with how our sorting is, I mean, it usually takes us all of 6 to 7 months before we even have enough of that to be able to do anything with it. So again, I hope that changes at our new place, but it's a matter of how long it takes us to process it and to be able to do anything with it is something we gotta keep in mind also. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yep. It's correct. Yeah.
In the direction.
Yeah. No, yep. Yeah. There's definitely a lot to learn out there. And again, it truly incredible what sometimes we see that comes in to the bins. Yeah, sometimes it's quite interesting. Um,
Garbage. But I have a lot of family in our, we have a single street, so everything is recyclable.
one bin, yep. So so the grant that we got for our new building, we actually got awarded it through dual stream, which is like how everything's separated. The logic behind the dual stream, how we have everything separated is how much easier it is to process at our facility. Where the single stream, if everything was mixed, it would just take a lot longer to, separate essentially. It's a lot easier on the front end on you recycling, but on the labor end on our side, we're gonna try to do the dual stream. Again, there's been a lot of places that will try dual stream, and if it doesn't work, we can easily go to single stream. But we're gonna try to really push for the dual stream. And the matter of fact too is to help us as far as resale. So when it is single stream, when you're trying to resell that to an end market, you get less money for it because it's all mixed together. So it increases the risk of, yeah, so somebody doesn't rinse out their pasta container and now like, a bunch of paper, and so it contaminates everything. Versus right now, if somebody dumps that into the paper section, well, at least the cardboard and the plastic is okay. So understand it's more convenient. But when they looked at the plan for our facility itself and everything, they really wanted to try to do it the cleaner version, at least out of the gate. As far as, yeah, yep. So we have a monthly board meeting, and that's where every representative from every township goes to that. And again, I just provide an update that's going on with us, and they provide any feedback or concerns, that they have.
County still with that.
the different townships.
Said Alpena, Oscoda, some other counties are going to try
Yes.
to
Yep.
that happening now.
So Skoda, Tawas, and Whittemore, they're expecting to start their program in August. So Alcona actually, they do, Alcona has a monthly pickup through Waste Management. But we're trying to get them to essentially let us take it. Again, that's a negotiation between us and their county. Montmorency, they do not have a program yet, but they actually got a millage passed. So they're a program that's in the works as well. Presqu'île, we are trying to get as well. Currently, Presqu'île actually brings all their material to Emmett County. So they haul everything from Presqu'île literally to Emmett County. So we're trying to get them as well, since we're 20 minutes from them. So it's just a lot of negotiation between us and all the different areas to, hey, partner with us. This is what it would look like, XYZ. So, yeah. Mhm. No, you're good. I believe they're right around 15,000 tons. Yep. They are a very, very established program. I mean, they have a curbside program. They have a very, very well ran operation. With that being said, they have a lot of different management and different departments and again, which happens with growth. When I went over there and got the tour and everything, they started just like us out of a really, really small building. And then look at them now. But they said roughly that took about 15, 20 years for all that to happen. So that, yeah, they have, I think, 5 or 6 different departments and then, people within them were, right now, I'm pretty much everything but payroll is essentially what, it's essentially what that is. So, there's a lot on my plate and everything, but the biggest focus right now is to try to get us rolling on our new building, and then we can start tackling, all the other areas, as far as, signage on the bins and website and curbside program and, all that good stuff. But yeah, no, thank you.